Hello everyone, Matt Matheson here from Family Money School. Let's chat for a little bit here. I wanted to make this video because I care about you and your family, and I want you to get your finances in order so that you can stop worrying about money. So today I'm going to show you how to put together a budget from scratch. Now with a budget in place, you'll find yourself at peace with how you're spending your money. You'll sleep better, you'll walk a little taller, and even have a little extra pep in your step. Now, this video is especially for people who are confused by how to build a simple budget. It's also for those who are waiting until they've got their finances in order before they level up with a budget. Now, how do I say this tactfully? That's not smart. It's kind of like saying you're going to wait to start dating until you get married, or that you're holding off on running a marathon until you're in shape. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you've never made a budget before, or you're overwhelmed at the thought of even trying, maybe you've started the process and gave up, you're gonna walk away today knowing exactly what you need to do to rock your budget. And if you watch until the end of the video, I'm gonna share the money tip that will literally save your marriage. For real, I'm not overstating that. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this with a pen and paper, but you can also use a spreadsheet or app to track your income and expenses. I mean, some people prefer to have it all listed on an Excel spreadsheet, and others want it to be more automated using an app. For me, I love the simplicity of using an app like EveryDollar. You Need a Budget or Mint, but I mean, that's just me. What's important is that you choose a method that works for you so that you can stick with it for the long term. And as I said, to keep it super simple and show you how it works, we're going to go old school today with pen and paper. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor. Obviously, I'm totally joking. There's no sponsor for this tiny but awesome super finance channel. I'm the sponsor, me and my beautiful family here. But if you do want to support me and you like what these videos are all about, please like and subscribe to the channel, and if you want to go a step further, you can use the link below to check out my money courses for kids. In order to put together your budget, there are two key things you absolutely need to know. The first is your monthly income, and the second is your monthly expenses. Now, in order to make a solid plan for your money, it's critical that you know how much money is coming in and how much is being spent. Because once you know your income and expenses, it is way easier to build an accurate budget that reflects your financial reality. To get started, list your monthly income. Now that's after tax income. So for most people, this means your paycheck, a part-time job or a side gig, and gifts. But as the wealthy know, it's important to diversify your income. So as you become more savvy financially, you may add rental income, dividends, capital gains from investments, business income, and other incomes as well. Now, for most people, the easiest way to determine your monthly income is to go back to your previous bank account statements to see what you've made. Now, there are lots of different scenarios for how people get paid, but here are some of the most common ones. And one quick note, if yours is super unique, feel free to drop a question in the comments below and I'll help you with determining the best way to get your monthly income. So if you're paid hourly, simply go back over the last 3 months and find your monthly income for each month. Then use your monthly average income as a ballpark figure to budget from. If you're paid at irregular times, look back over the last 6 months or longer if you can and average out how much you make per month. And if you get paid bi-weekly and the amount is consistent, simply double it to get your monthly income. If you don't get paid the same amount in each 2-week pay period, find your total income for the last year and get a monthly average. This is easy to find on your W-2 or, for my Canadian peeps, your T-4. Now, finally, if one spouse gets paid bi-weekly and the other is monthly, simply add up the total monthly income between both partners. Now, no matter how you do it, it's critical that you determine the total amount of money that you're bringing in every month. Budgeting is all about giving every dollar you earn a specific job. And if you don't know how many dollars you're actually working with, the rest of the process will fall flat. So the first thing you want to do is list your monthly income. And you need to make sure that that's after tax. So for us, we're using an annual income of $70,000. That's right around the median income in the US for 2020. So after tax, that leaves us with a monthly income of $4,378. Next up, you need to list out all of your monthly expenses. Now, this can be done by looking at your previous bank and credit card statements. Start with the payments that are consistent and relatively fixed. These can be divided up as follows. So first is giving. Now, before our money goes anywhere in our house, we give to causes that are near and dear to us. I was raised in a Christian home where giving was heavily emphasized as something that not only helped others and encouraged us to be selfless, but was what God had commanded us to do. And while I still believe it's an important act of obedience, I don't give out of compulsion or duty. And I don't even give to be selfless anymore, really. In fact, when I think about it, giving is actually something I need to do. It's not even an option to stop. Now, don't get me wrong. My wife and I often look around at all the sweet cars, fancy campers and RVs, the beautiful cottages and awesome vacations that people take. And we talk about how if we weren't giving as much as we did, we'd be able to afford to do some of those things. But in the end, we give because we need to. Most people want to get to a point where their money can allow them to live the life they truly want. Now, from a rational perspective, if you can get to the point where you actually experience happiness when you give away your money, you've achieved financial freedom. It really doesn't matter if you make $50,000 a year or $500,000. When you give generously, you're reminding yourself, the universe, and everyone around you that you're in control of your money and that it doesn't own you. You're so in control of it that you're actually giving it away, which seems like complete madness to many people around you who are striving for more and more. But here's the thing, that's the paradox of generosity. By having less money, you actually have more freedom. That's why giving comes first for us. So determine how much you're going to give each month and write it down. Now, next up, you need to list your expenses. So for us, for giving, we're going with 10% of our monthly gross income. So that works out to $700 a month. Next up is saving. We practice the pay yourself first method. This means that we treat savings as an expense. If you don't save before you spend, whether it's paying off debt or keeping the lights on or going out to eat, you'll never save enough. And in most budgets, people save from the money that's left over after spending on needs and wants. But by treating your savings like an urgent expense and saving first, you'll guarantee you'll always be saving money, even when your budget is super tight. It's crazy simple to set up automatic transfers from your checking account to a separate savings or investment account like a Roth IRA or TFSA. And by automating your savings, you'll save without even feeling like you're losing money. It isn't an overstatement to say that automation is probably, in my opinion, the greatest personal finance innovation of the 21st century. Forget Bitcoin, Shiba Inu. I love automation. Now, experts recommend that you aim to save 20% of your gross income each month. That's your pre-tax amount. Now, this may be too lofty for some, especially if you're not used to it or if your budget is very tight. Okay, if you're just starting out, 10% is a great place to begin, and then up your amount by 1% each month until you hit your 20% goal. Now, next up is saving. So we have two expenses under saving. We have our retirement savings, and we have our emergency fund. So in our case, for our retirement savings, we're going to aim for 10% of our gross income, or $700 a month. And for our emergency fund, we are going to aim for $200 a month. Next, list all of your debts. Now, these are things like student loans, credit cards, mortgages, car payments, things of that nature. Now, for our budget, we have a mortgage and credit card payment. Then simply list the minimum payments for each of these, because you know that you're going to need to pay at least the minimum amount. Now, we're aiming to pay more, but as a starting point, just list the minimums. So for us, the mortgage checks in at $1,205, and we have a credit card payment of $123. Next up are the necessities. Now, these are things that you need to survive. These are costs that happen every month, even though they may not be the same each month. So these could be things like rent, transportation, groceries, utilities, internet, insurance, gas, taxes if you need to save for them, and childcare. Now, if you don't know these numbers, go back and look at your banking and credit card statements over the last 3 months and find an average for each of these categories to get the monthly amount. Again, a budget is a working, living document, so these numbers will change. Going forward, it'll be important to track your expenses, but for now, getting a solid estimate of your monthly expenses is all we're after. So for our budget, we have the following expenses. We have gas, which we are going to estimate is $115 a month. We have car maintenance, which we are going to budget $100 a month for. We have our groceries, which we are budgeting $420 a month. We have our utilities, which we are going to budget $172 a month for. Then we have our internet, and that's costing us $65 a month. And we have our cell phone, which is costing us $127 a month. Man, cell phones are expensive. And then we've got our home and car insurance, which is costing us $250 a month. Finally, you'll need to list out your lifestyle expenses. Now, this is a fancy way of saying your wants. And these are costs that don't have to happen each month, but that make your life more enjoyable. We're talking things like shopping, clothes, going out, fun, subscriptions, gifts, a home cleaner, etc. For us, we have things like Audible, Netflix, Disney Plus, and going out, home decor, cosmetics, gifts, kids, and barber and beauty, amongst other things. Now, we also include a miscellaneous budget line here to allow us to spend on any small expenses we weren't really planning for, like a snack on the road, a coffee, or stamps. Now, in addition to budgeting for the expenses that we know will happen every month, we also budget for expenses that don't happen on a monthly basis, but that we know will happen in the future. And to do this, we use sinking funds. So every month, we set aside money in one or multiple categories to be used at a later date. With these sinking funds, you save up a small amount each month for a certain period of time before you spend. Now, this allows us to save up money by setting aside a little bit each month until we need to finally use the money. Now, some months we may use all the money in a sinking fund, and in others we don't. But by using sinking funds, we're able to build up a surplus of money in the months we don't have as many expenses in a certain category. So it allows us to save up for large future expenses like a new car or a vacation. And it even allows us to stash money away for gifts. Deciding how much to set aside each month for a specific expense in the future can be a bit tricky, but it's actually really simple to figure this out. So take gifts, for example. You've got Christmas, you've got birthdays, you've got Mother's Day, you've got Father's Day, and maybe some other small events. Maybe you've got let's say you've got weddings, and let's say baby showers. So to determine how much to stash away, just make a rough estimate about how much you want to spend at Christmas, on birthdays, and the other events that we just chatted about. Then all you do is divide that number up by 12, and this will give you the monthly amount that you need to be saving so that you'll have enough to cover all of your gift expenses. So let's say you wanted to spend $500 on Christmas gifts. So we'll say $500 on Christmas gifts. Let's say you spend about $40 on each family member's birthday and you're in a family of 5, so you can add another $200 for birthdays. Plus, let's say your kids will have some birthday parties that they'll go to throughout the year, so let's add another $100. So total for birthdays, let's say, is $300. For Mother's Day and Father's Day, we typically spend $30, so we'll pop $30 in there for each of those. Let's say weddings, maybe you got a couple weddings throughout the year. Let's say you spend a couple $100 on weddings. And then for like baby showers and stuff like that, you know what, let's say, well, let's lump that all in. Let's say weddings and baby showers is $200. So if we add that all up, what you get is $1,060. So once you get that $1,060, all you do is simply divide that by 12 to get your monthly total, which works out to $88.33. So what that means is each month in your sinking fund, you'll stash away $90 in gifts. And there you go, Bob's your uncle. When the holidays roll around or birthdays come up, you won't have to worry about finding the money in your budget for the added expenses because you'll have a fully funded sinking fund that's totally ready to go. Now in our budget, we've got a number of different sinking funds, which I'll note with a star. And for our lifestyle expenses, we've got an Audible subscription, which is $15. We've got Netflix, which is $14. We've got Disney Plus, which is $12. We've got a vacation that we want to save for, which is $100 a month that we're going to put away. We've got a vehicle replacement that we're saving up for, and that one is $200. Then we've got clothes, and we're setting aside $80 a month for clothes. Then we've got going out, and for going out we're setting aside $80. We've got home decor, which we're setting aside $80 for. We've got cosmetics. Again, we're setting aside $60 for cosmetics. We've got our gifts, which we are setting aside, we said $90 for. We've got Barber Beauty, which we are setting aside $120 for. And then we've got Dion's Fun, which we are setting aside $150 for. And we've got Matt's Fun, which we're also setting aside $150 for. In our budget, we've got a number of different sinking funds. So in our lifestyle expenses, all of ours are sinking funds except for Audible, Netflix, and Disney Plus. Now, one quick note on the fun money expenses. Fun money, blow money, divorce repellent accounts, call them whatever you want. I call them a marriage saver. When we got married and joined our finances together, it was a relatively smooth process. That was until I realized how much my wife spent on clothes and she saw how much I dropped on golf. I never realized how many subtle yet critical differences there could be in black leggings. Cropped, high-waisted, super high-waisted, wide waist, reversible, black on both sides, heathered, knit, pockets, no pockets, ribbed, brushed, scalloped, hemmed, and the list could go on and on. Got to a point where I'd start to get a little bit batty every time I saw another pair of expensive black leggings in the laundry basket. And for her, golf was exactly the same. It just didn't make sense in her world. In no other universe would an otherwise sane human being drop $100 to go hit a tiny white ball into a series of small holes with a bunch of friends for 5 hours. Not to mention that I'd often come home angry and annoyed that I hadn't played better and frustrated by my lack of skill. To her, it would make a lot more sense to take that $100 and buy a new pair of leggings. We solved this problem with separate fun money accounts for both of us. We sat down and discussed how much would be a fair amount for each of us to spend on fun each month. And once we determined the dollar amount, we both agreed that we wouldn't pass judgment on how the other person spent their money. If I wanted to spend my money smacking a tiny ball around a golf course for 5 hours with my friends, I could, and she wouldn't judge. And if she came home with another pair of black tights or a new sweater or anything else her heart desired, I too wouldn't bat an eye. And I have to tell you, it has worked brilliantly. Not only has it given us each a level of independence in our finances to have a bit of money to spend as we want, it has greatly reduced the tension in our marriage around money. We almost never fight about finances, and I believe a huge reason for that is our fun money accounts. Okay, so after listing our income and then all of our expenses, here's where we sit. Income, $4,378. And total expenses, $5,588. Ooh, yikes. So clearly this isn't going to fly. We're spending way more money than we're bringing in. So there are two solutions to this. Either we can increase our income or we can reduce the expenses. Now, it's always much more pleasant to have an increase in income. And while this is possible, it generally takes time. In the short term, we'll need to cut expenses. So that will mean calling around to different service providers like utility companies and insurance providers and looking for better rates, as well as, unfortunately, cutting many of the lifestyle expenses that we have. Now, one common question people have is how much they should be spending on each of their categories. While there are lots of different ways to budget your money, one of the simplest that I like is the 50-30-20 method. So using this method, you aim to spend 50% of your money on your needs, 30% on your wants, and 20% on your savings or debt. An important thing to remember is that there will be exceptions to these suggested percentages. It means sometimes your needs may be way higher than 50% of your income, and you won't have any way around it. In those situations, work hard to lower your needs as much as you can and take the rest out of what you would put into your savings. You can see though, with the first crack at our budget, our percentages are totally out of whack. And with us spending way too much, we'll have to keep an eye on those percentages as we balance our budget. So we had to make some adjustments to our budget. So we had to cut our gas expenses. So our gas is going to go down to $85. Car maintenance, we're going to leave at $100. We've got our groceries, which we're going to leave at $420. Our utilities, we were able to negotiate down to $142. Our internet, we were able to go with a different company to get $45 a month. Our cell phone, we were able to totally cut all the way down to $40, going with a discount carrier. And for our insurance, we were able to negotiate with some different providers to get that down to $205. Now, in the lifestyle category, we had to do some pretty major cutting. So we were not able to afford Audible. We had to cut out Audible. Netflix, we decided to keep, but Disney Plus, we were not able to keep that in the budget. The vacation fund, we had to get rid of, as did the vehicle replacement. Kind of sad about that, but you know what? That's budgeting. You have to make some hard choices. Clothes, we had to cut down to $40 a month. Our miscellaneous, we had to cut down to $50 a month. Our going out, we cut down to $30 a month. Home decor, we had to get rid of that. Cosmetics, we had to get rid of that. Gifts, we left at $90. Barber Beauty, we had to cut that down to $50. Squeeze it in there. And then for our fun money, we had to cut that down to $50 as well. So after negotiating some better rates on utilities and insurance and trimming back on our lifestyle expenses, this is what our budget looks like. So you can see our needs are at 56%, our wants are at 26%, and our savings is at 18%, right around the percentages that were recommended. So after calling around for some better deals, renegotiating some rates, and cutting expenses like crazy, you can see that our budget finally balances. Now, it did take some doing, and there were some tough decisions that had to be made. I mean, I hated cutting out the vehicle replacement, and my wife wasn't loving cutting home decor, but that's part of what budgeting is. It's sitting down and deciding what you truly value and putting your money not where your mouth is, but where your values are. Now, your budget doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be done and to work for you. That's because budgets are super personal. They reveal far more about us than where we spend our money. They're tailored to you, your priorities, and your values. So don't compare your budget to someone else's seemingly perfect budget that you found online or in some personal finance book. I mean, when it comes to budgeting in life, comparison really is the killer of joy. And practice doesn't make perfect, it makes progress. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Try different budgeting styles and develop the best budgeting method for you. And budgets should absolutely be flexible. They can and should shift over time as your income goes up and your needs and wants change. So be prepared to adjust your budget as you move through different seasons of life. Now, with your budget in place, you'll find yourself at peace with how you're spending your money. You'll sleep better, walk taller, and even have a little extra pep in your step. One of the reasons people have trouble making budgets that actually work over the long haul is because they spend way more money than they actually make. It's one of the biggest problems people have with budgeting. And one of the biggest reasons for this is that online shopping has made buying easier than ever. And Amazon is by far the biggest culprit, making it insanely simple to buy everything from TVs to teriyaki sauce, and to have it all delivered to your doorstep in days, or even hours in some places. And while the convenience of that is definitely nice, it comes at a steep price. So in the next video, I'm going to show you the psychological tricks that Amazon uses to get you to spend your hard-earned money. And once you know their techniques, you will be saving money like crazy. I'll see you there.